Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers DUI laws, field sobriety tests, and plain view searches, and is brought to us by Behind the Mug Shots channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On February 12th, 2021, Officer Katie Proffer of the University of Central Florida Police Department approached 19-year-old UCF student Sophia, who was sitting inside her vehicle in a parking lot in Orlando, Florida. Officer Proffer immediately asks Ms. Sophia whether she has been drinking and begins a DUI investigation.
Hello, I'm Officer Proffer. How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. Alright, so what's going on tonight? Were you fell asleep in here or what?
Yeah, honestly, just fell asleep.
Okay, have you been drinking?
Honestly?
Yeah. Okay, where'd you come from?
Just came from a house party and we figured it was safer to sit here. We were dropped off. I didn't feel comfortable driving, so we were sitting in my car.
Okay.
And I didn't want to drive.
Okay, do you guys both live here, or?
I don't live here.
So how'd you get here?
We were dropped off by an Uber.
Okay, and you just got in your car?
Yes, ma'am.
So your car was sitting here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you guys been smoking weed at all, too?
No, ma'am. Don't
Okay.
do drugs.
Alright.
We just have 2 energy drinks open here,
There
but
are 2
they're
energy
already
drinks.
drinking.
This is a White Claw.
That is a Monster.
A Monster. I'm so sorry. We were at the beach.
We don't have any open containers in the car.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
We just have a Celsius and a Monster. They're just
Yeah, I
energy
had
drinks.
that earlier. I worked.
We don't have anything open in the car.
No.
I just didn't want to drive intoxicated, so we're just sitting in the car.
Okay, you're both students. Okay. Did he get your IDs and stuff already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hang on 1 second for me. So yeah, I can smell there too. So since they are parked here, can you still get them because they're behind the wheel of the operating vehicle? All right. Okay. What is your name again?
My name is Sophia.
Sophia. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you, if you don't mind, to step out of the vehicle and talk to me behind the car for a bit. All right.
I'm really sorry. I just didn't want to drive.
You could just stand right there. That's fine.
You're okay.
For driving under the influence, all you have to be is you're in the driver's seat, so you're in control of an operating motor vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's still illegal to be sitting in the driver's seat with you drinking.
Okay.
Officer Proffer claims that it is illegal for an intoxicated individual to sit in the driver's seat of a vehicle, even if they do not drive. Under Section 316.193 of the Florida statutes, an individual is guilty of driving under the influence if they are, quote, driving or in actual physical control of a vehicle while, now quoting again, under the influence of alcoholic beverages or any chemical substance or controlled substance. When affected to the extent that the person's normal faculties are impaired, the person has a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or more, or the person has a breath alcohol level of 0.08 or more. Likewise, there is an additional statute for individuals under 21, found in Section 322.2616 of the Florida statutes, which provides that, quote, it is unlawful for a person under the age of 21 who has a blood alcohol or breath alcohol level of 0.02 or higher to drive or be in actual physical control of a motor vehicle. According to the Florida Standard Jury Instructions for the DUI statute, quote, actual physical control of a vehicle means the defendant must be physically in the vehicle and have the capability to operate the vehicle, regardless of whether she is actually operating the vehicle at the time. In the 2011 case of State versus Fitzgerald, the 2nd District Court of Appeal of Florida noted that an individual's capability to operate a vehicle means that they must have the quote-unquote practical ability to do so, and concluded that evidence that a driver's keys were close enough for her, quote, to use them to start the car and drive away was sufficient to prove that she was in actual physical control of the motor vehicle. Similarly, in the 1984 case of Griffin versus State, the 2nd District Court of Appeal of Florida ruled that the defendant, who was found asleep in a stopped vehicle in the middle of the road with their foot on the brake and their key in the ignition, was in actual physical control of the vehicle. It is unclear exactly where Ms. Sophia's keys were when Officer Proffer first made contact with her, but the brake lights and the rear license plate light appeared to be on when Officer Proffer approaches. So although the key is not visible, it was likely in the ignition, and a court would almost certainly find she was in actual physical physical control of the vehicle, regardless of whether there was any evidence that she actually drove the car. However, even if the vehicle was not on and the keys were not in the ignition, as long as the keys were in an accessible location, it is likely that she could still be convicted of DUI, given Florida's broad interpretation of when an individual is in actual physical control of a vehicle.
So, are you willing to participate in some standard field sobriety exercises for us?
Do I have to?
I mean, it's up to you. It's your choice. But then if you don't, then we have to make a decision based on our evidence right now. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Yes, I mean, you can either participate in the standard field sobriety exercises, or like I said, we just make our determination now upon, speaking to you and our evidence, what we smell, what we see,
Right.
and we can go from there, determine if we have enough to make an arrest or not.
I mean, I'm willing to try.
Okay, you're willing to participate in the standard field sobriety exercises?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to read you some instructions real quick, okay? All right, go ahead and stand with your hands down at your side. I'm going to check your eyes, okay? So I'm going to get out a pen, and this is going to be the stimulus. Where were you guys at before here?
We were at a house party.
Okay, was that here on campus?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so and then you had Uber take you here, and you just had your car keys on you, so you got in the car.
Turn on the car for warmth.
And then sat in here.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So I'm going to check your eyes, so you don't have any glasses, contacts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Keep your head still, and you're going to follow this with your eyes only. Okay, do not move your head. Do you understand these instructions?
Yes, ma'am. Follow the pen.
Yeah.
Ma'am, stand with your arms down by your side.
Sorry, it's really cold.
Okay.
No, keep your head still. Okay. Look straight. Come over here. Okay. So our next test, our exercise, we're going to find a line. You want to come over here, and we'll use the line over here. Alright, so just stand there with your feet together, arms down at your side. When I tell you to begin, you're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps on the line. Turn around, keeping 1 foot on the line, and return 9 heel-to-toe steps back. Okay, so it's going to look like this. 2, 3.
So it'll be 18 total, like there and back.
You're going to take 9 down. You're going to do that turn with a series of small steps. You're going to take 9 steps back. Heel to toe, your arms got to be down at your side. And count your steps out loud, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may begin.
1. Turn.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Okay, keep going. Okay, you can turn around and face me. Keep your arms down at your side. We have one more exercise to do. When I tell you to, I want you to raise one leg, either leg, approximately 6 inches off the ground. It's going to be about the height of a soda can. Your foot's going to be pointed out. Your eyes are going to be looking on it. 1001, 1002, 1003, and so forth until I tell you to stop, okay? All right, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may begin.
1001, 1021, 1022.
Okay, you can stop.
1023.
All right, go ahead and put your hands behind your back. You're going to be arrested for DUI.
Why?
Because you are operating a motor vehicle under the influence.
Officer Proffer leads Ms. Sophia through a series of field sobriety tests, or FSTs, before placing her under arrest for DUI. Florida does not have a law requiring individuals to submit to FSTs, but in the 1995 case of State versus Taylor, the Florida Supreme Court held that an individual's refusal may be used at trial and, now quoting, is probative of the issue of consciousness of guilt when an individual knew that refusal was not a, quote, safe harbor free of adverse consequences and acted in spite of that knowledge. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has developed 3 standardized FSTs, which have been widely accepted and used across the country, despite the existence of substantial criticism regarding the scientific validity, reliability, and objectivity of the tests. The first test Ms. Sophia completed was the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, which requires the officer to observe the driver's eyes as they follow a moving object, typically a pen or flashlight, to check for certain involuntary jerking eye movements associated with impairment. Next, Ms. Sophia performed the walk and turn test. During this FST, the officer asks the driver to take 9 heel-to-toe steps along a straight line, turn around, and take 9 steps back while the officer assesses the driver's ability to maintain balance and follow instructions. The last test Ms. Sophia underwent was the one-leg stand test, where the driver is instructed to stand on one leg with the other leg lifted approximately 6 inches off the ground for about 30 seconds, while the officer evaluates the driver's balance and ability to follow instructions. Officer Proffer does not mention in the video exactly what actions resulted in Ms. Sophia failing the FSTs, but she can be seen stepping off the line during the walk and turn test and wobbling slightly during the one-leg stand. Given her age and the reduced alcohol limits for individuals under 21, it is likely a court would uphold her arrest, particularly given the fact that she readily admitted to drinking before participating in field sobriety testing.
All right, we're gonna go back to the back of my car. All right, you have anything sharp on you? Any knives, weapons? No needles, nothing like that. All right.
I have my ID and then my friend's ID.
All right. I'm just gonna pat you down, make sure you don't have anything on you. Spread your feet. This is the only pocket in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
There's
there's
not that many
nothing.
pockets in a legging.
Yeah.
Is that all you want in your car?
Yes, sir. Just the wallet itself. It's black. It says Kate Spade on it. Has a car key attached to it.
Okay.
And then also like a key to get into my establishment.
Okay.
All right, you can have a seat back here.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and buckle you up. Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down to the DUI center where we'll request a breath test from you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then from there, you'll be going to the Orange County Jail.
Cool.
For DUI, but they can only hold you for, I think it's 12 hours from like the time now, so you should be able to get out. I'll find out for sure. I think it's either 8 hours or 12 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, hang tight, okay?
So we're going to secure this car. Go ahead and take out anything that you need out of the vehicle, ma'am. Where do you live on campus?
I live right here. This
Okay.
is my house.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
All right, cool. So we're good to leave her car here then.
Search her wallet. I didn't. You have gloves on? Well, you did. Whatever. That she's pretty much admitted to it. She was using a fake ID or someone else's ID. It's whatever you want to do, but.
Is that her
just give me-
phone?
Yep, I think so. I already locked the car. Yeah, you don't have to tow it. I guess she's allowed to park here.
Ma'am, 1 second. Come back over here to me. Unlock the car. I can see cannabis in clear view. I was wondering what she hid underneath the seat. That's what that. If you come over here to me, I want to show you what I'm looking at. There's a bag right there that looks like it has green leafy substance. You see?
Come over here.
Come right here to me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one you. What do you?
So there's see that bag right there, sticking out of the seat. Mm-hmm. It almost looks like there's a green leafy substance at the very end of it. Could I be wrong?
To be honest, I can't really tell.
It looked like she was hiding something. So I asked her what she was hiding, and she said, "Oh, nothing, nothing." And she's moving stuff around.
Either way, you got a good search for furtive movements.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about weed in this car.
I'm gonna go in there and just take that based on my suspicion. That's the only thing I'm gonna take. I'm not gonna search the car or anything like that right now. Do you have a key?
One of the officers states that he's going to seize a bag in the car that looks like it may have a green leafy substance, and that the passenger was making, quote, furtive movements when they first approached the vehicle. In the 1925 case of Carroll versus United States, the Supreme Court created an exception to the warrant requirement for searches of vehicles, holding that a vehicle may be searched without a warrant if the officer has probable cause to believe that it contains contraband. Likewise, under the so-called plain view doctrine, as the Supreme Court explained in the 1993 case of Minnesota versus Dickerson, quote, if police are lawfully in a position from which they view an object, if its incriminating character is immediately apparent, and if the officers have a lawful right of access to the object, they may seize it without a warrant. However, the court went on to note that, quote, if the police lack probable cause to believe that an object in plain view is contraband without conducting some further search of the object, i.e., if its incriminating character is not immediately apparent, the plain view doctrine cannot justify its seizure. In the 2019 case of United States versus Lightsey, the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida held that the incriminating character of a clear plastic bag with a leafy green substance was immediately apparent when two officers testified that they believed it was marijuana based on their experience and training. In reaching this conclusion, the court considered the 2018 case of United States versus Gant, where the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Florida, held that officers were not required to, quote-unquote, know with absolute certainty that a substance in a clear bag was crack cocaine, and allowed for a, quote, common sense view to the realities of normal life to justify probable cause. Here, because one of the officers described the object in plain view as a bag that appeared to contain a green leafy substance, it is likely that a court would conclude the plain view doctrine allowed him to enter the vehicle and retrieve the bag. However, because the officer admitted that he was not sure if he saw anything, and the other officer said he could not tell if it was a leafy substance, it is possible a court would determine that the incriminating character of the item was not, quote-unquote, immediately apparent. It should also be noted that when deciding whether to inspect the item further, one of the officers mentioned, quote-unquote, furtive movements, suggesting that one of the individuals may have hidden something. Suspicious movements may be considered as a factor in determining whether the search was reasonable, but the legality of such a search will depend on the specific circumstances of the case and whether the officer's actions were deemed reasonable under the Fourth Amendment. For example, if an individual tries to throw something out of the window or hide items under the seat or floor mat, it may raise suspicions and could justify a search of the vehicle. In this instance, although it turned out that the bag did not contain marijuana, a court would take the allegedly suspicious movements into consideration when determining whether the officer's search of the vehicle was reasonable.
It's just based on the movements, so there might not be weed, but from what it looks like.
Okay,
So-
I promise you.
Okay, let us at least just find it if there is anything, and then we'll go from there.
I'm sorry. You're just trying to search my car or their car?
Well, we're not searching.
Why did you press it?
Okay.
The vehicle's not being searched. It was
It was
affirmative
just a plastic
movement.
that looked like something. In my experience, that looked like a baggie. And due to your further movements earlier, where it looked like you were hiding something underneath the towel, which I don't know if it was the alcohol.
I really wasn't trying to tell.
I get
was
you,
trying to put
okay.
the towel back where I found it.
I get it. Nothing in the car. Thank you so much.
Right.
You can go inside your house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After the arrest, Behind the Mugshot reported that Ms. Sophia took 2 breathalyzer tests at the police station, for which breath alcohol levels of .099 and .088 were recorded, meaning she was both over the legal limit of 0.02 for someone under 21 and the limit of 0.08 for all drivers. The channel also noted that to resolve her case, Ms. Sophia agreed to a DUI diversion contract, which involved 50 hours of community service, DUI school, a victim impact class, a 10-day vehicle impound, a $500 donation to a nonprofit, a fee to the department, and an interlock device for 1 year. Overall, the UCF officers get a B- because although they maintained professional demeanors and likely remained within their legal authority throughout the encounter, they failed to exercise their discretion to resolve this incident without resorting to legal intervention, and instead chose to arrest a young driver who seemed to be attempting to avoid driving while under the influence. That being said, the Florida legislature has explicitly chosen to criminalize not only operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, but also being in so-called actual physical control of a vehicle. And while I do not necessarily believe that this legislative choice serves to make the streets safer, it seems clear that Ms. Sophia's conduct was a violation of the state DUI statute, at least as Florida courts have interpreted it. However, making an arrest was not the only tool the officers had available to ensure that Ms. Sophia did not drive after drinking, and in my opinion, they should have explored other options to get her home safely, instead of punishing her for trying to avoid a dangerous driving situation. Ms. Sophia also gets a B-, because although she remained respectful throughout the interaction, she failed to exercise her right to remain silent, and agreed to participate in field sobriety testing when she was not required to do so. It is likely that at the time Officer Proffer approached Ms. Sophia's car, she did not have the reasonable suspicion necessary to detain her. And although courts have consistently held that officers can approach parked vehicles to engage in consensual encounters without any sort of suspicion whatsoever, Ms. Sophia immediately admitted to drinking, and, given her age and the lower BAC limit for underage drinkers, likely gave the officers probable cause to arrest her even if she had refused field sobriety testing. Then, Ms. Sophia agreed to field sobriety testing, which, given the fairly subjective nature of FSTs, gave the officers more evidence to use against her after her arrest. This encounter demonstrates how citizens can hurt their own interests by answering questions and agreeing to field sobriety tests, and why it is essential for drivers to invoke their rights during DUI investigations. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.